we have a very special treat in the Notsam studio, somebody that we've talked about here on the channel, somebody that I feel like the world is talking about right now. If you've seen the documentary Crime and Penalties, part of the Untold series on Netflix, you know exactly who this is. At 17, he was the president of the Danbury Trashers. Ladies and gentlemen, the legend is in the studio. AJ Galante is here.
Thank you, Sam.
What's
Good.
going
I
on, man?
don't
What's
know
the
about-
haps? How are
Oh,
you?
man, everything's good. How about you?
I would imagine everything's good for you right now. It
A little
feels like,
crazy, a little crazy, but
yeah, I mean, so the craziest thing to me, and it's such a good lesson like for life, right? You never know how life is going to turn out. I would imagine, because you talk about it in the doc, that at 17, you're the president, the GM, you're in charge of this hockey team. You're riding the high of all highs. You have these two legendary seasons, right? And then it all goes away. And you end up, kind of driving a truck for 10 years, which had to be like, boom, crashing low, like your whole 20s. You're like, what? I got to figure this out now. What does adult life look like? Who would have thought that in 2021, it would all come back around and the whole world would be here talking about you and your dad and the Trashers?
nah, I mean, it's just mind blowing. I mean, I wish I had I wish I had a cooler way to say it, but it's just insane what's going on, and just how this whole story went from just basically local legend to now it's international. I mean, which is weird. It's the weird. I mean, I never thought anyone outside of the tri-state area would ever know about the Danbury Trashers, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, there are people in the tri-state area that don't know about Danbury, Connecticut.
That's true
Danbury,
too.
Connecticut.
That's true
People,
too.
It's so funny. Like, people have been like, well, is Danbury like? I'm like, well, it's not exactly like Greenwich, Connecticut. You know what I mean?
It's blue collar.
Yeah, yeah.
Little this, little that.
Well, I mean, so let's start with like, how do you? Because you do interviews and stuff, obviously, for the documentary. You're all over it. It's your story.
Mhm.
But you don't know how it's going to turn out until the documentary comes out. How did you feel about the finished product? How did you feel about the way the story was told?
Well, the funny thing was, people assumed I did not see the doc until it came out that Tuesday.
Like on Netflix.
On Netflix.
That's
I
crazy.
didn't get like, we didn't get a preview. It was kind of like, it was like the 5 days leading up to it. It was like Christmas Eve every day. It was kind of like, you can't sleep. You're thinking about it. You're like, what's going to happen when I get up?
Yeah.
And it just was like 5 days of just waiting and waiting. And then I remember getting up at like 6 a.m. on Tuesday the 31st. And, it's just surreal. I'm not used to seeing myself on TV. So, you put it on, you see your picture, and it hit me then. Because even leading up, even with the trailers and the promotion Netflix did, it did not hit me until that morning. And then I felt like I was floating in a way. I was like, I can't even believe I'm watching this. Most of my home videos on Netflix. It's like, This is insane. And I got to tell you, overall, I feel weird saying it because it's me, and I want to always sound, be humble. But I thought it was amazing. I thought
By the way, you were in charge of a hockey team at 17. Like, all the stories of you and your dad. You got The Rock and Triple H at your birthday party. You going like, I always try to be humble. I'm like, yeah? Is that what you try to do?
No, you got it. But no, I mean, it was one of those things where, I thought the product was, it was accurate. It wasn't really embellished, which, with documentaries, you never know. Sometimes things may be slightly off, but I got to tell you, minus a few super, super minor things that no one would ever know anyway, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, lucky for you, some stories don't need to be embellished.
Yes.
Were you at all worried that like they were going to make you guys? Because there are also documentaries that even the subjects, they end up being made to look like fools, right? Like the documentary makers decide to take another turn, and it's like, there are people who don't like their own documentaries.
Yeah, no, I got to tell you, the Way brothers who produced this whole series, not just ours, I mean, we've become friends. I mean, even before this aired, I mean, I just felt so comfortable with them from the start. And I know they got a job to do. They have to produce something that is eye-grabbing. And, there's so many layers to this story. It's a risky thing whenever I've talked about it in the past because, like you said, they could take and run with it. So I was, as much as I trusted them, and I still do to this day, I was a little, when I turned it on, I was like, oh God, what are we gonna see here? But overall, I mean, I was really pleased with it.
I mean, I think it says a lot. It's got to say a lot about your family, right? The fact that like there's even the organized crime spin on the whole thing and everything, but I mean, they start off with going like, "Oh, he looked like a punk, like a punk," and it shows you and you're doing your hat tricks and everything, and you're a kid, right? You're a 17-year-old.
I don't know where they. I mean, I gave them a lot of home videos. I don't even remember that video. That shows how good they combed through everything. I was like, oh God, and I've been catching hell ever since.
But it like somehow, even though it's like mob guy, spoiled rich kid, by the end of the thing, I haven't met anybody that hasn't seen it and not been like, man, the Galantes are the hero at the end of the day. Like everybody loves you guys coming out of it.
You know, look, you know, there's always been things said, reputation, some of it embellished maybe. I don't know. My dad always taught me to be humble, be real. You know, you treat everyone with respect. It doesn't matter if they're the janitor or they're the president or not. That's been ingrained. That's been like punctured into my head from you know, me and my sister since we were little. And again, to be honest with you, I've always had that stigma, like, oh, you know, he's a spoiled kid, he's fortunate. And look, I don't like the word spoiled. Spoiled is like spoiled milk. I don't like the word spoiled.
It's also a personality type, right? Spoiled, like you don't want to be around a spoiled.
Like the Mean Street Posse, Shane McMahon's guys. But no, I mean, that's the first plug.
Pete Gas has been over here, by the way.
Yeah,
Pete Gas is my guy.
That's the first plug. But no, I mean, look, I know I'm very fortunate. You know, but you know what? What people don't see is the other flip side of that is you have to work harder for respect because people automatically, you know, you know, you have to hustle in your own way, and that's always been very important to me to kind of show that I can do things too. But I've been very lucky. My dad's always taught me to put a team around you and you know, just build together. So I get a lot of credit, which I appreciate, but we've had such a tremendous team over the years.
You know, it's really funny. You talk about how the Mighty Ducks is what inspired your love for hockey. And like that was an era, like we grew up the same era.
Yeah.
Like that's an era when those sports movies would come up, but they'd be kids sports movies.
Yes.
And they get you all psyched up. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know, not too far after Mighty Ducks is like Little Big League, Rookie of the Year.
Angels in the Outfield.
Angels in the Outfield.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And I'm sitting there going like, those are all movies that as a kid, you're like, this is a total fantasy, but it's super fun, right?
Yep.
But your story is Little Big League. Like you do become the kid. You literally like for those 2 years, you're a little older, but still 17.
Yeah.
Like you're in high school. Yeah. Like you lived for a couple of years that life of the kid in the sports movie.
You know, I never heard that analogy, but it's so true. Little Big League, it is, and you know, like you said, I mean, back in those days, the early '90s, I mean, those movies were everything. And I mean, I didn't even know that day that my mom took me to go see the Mighty Ducks. I didn't even know we were going to see the Mighty Ducks. So it was like I'll never forget. It was like a rainy Saturday or something. She's like, all right, let's just go to the movies, and it must have been the only thing playing that was either G or PG, and I knew nothing about hockey, and I didn't even know about the Mighty Ducks, and I don't know what it was. The minute they started like getting their stuff together, the team, they were like a ragtag bunch. The minute they started getting, you know, hyped up and the flying V and all that, I was just like, this is it. This is something I gotta look into.
And so you did like. So I liked all those movies, but I never got into sports like that because, you know, I mean, movies have a way of packaging things. Then you watch the games and I'm just like, I'm not getting the same thing. But you did end up like right after the Mighty Ducks going like, oh, I got to watch this hockey stuff and getting that thing out of it.
Well, that's true. I mean, I remember after I got into, you know, Mighty Ducks, all I was talking about basically was hockey, wrestling. But my dad got tickets to the New Jersey Devils game once. It's like '94.
They're probably pretty good tickets, right?
They were good tickets. But I remember walking in and almost like movie-like. The minute I walked in and you see the whole scope of the arena and the guys are warm up and just the sound of a hockey game, the pucks hitting the net and the pucks hitting. I don't know what it was, but it just struck me. I'm like, this is it. You know, you feel the chill when you walk into the rink, and I was hooked. The minute I got in there, I'm like, this is for me. So that's how it worked out.
So growing up, right, did you know that your dad and his way of doing business, and you talk about like in the movie, the lessons that you learned and like being a little kid going like, you don't rat on your friends, and like, which I loved. But how quick as a kid did you know, okay, I'm growing up in a way that's not typical of the kids around me?
I gotta tell you,
Or did you grow up in a typical way?
I don't know. I mean, as I get older, I'm like, am I a freak? Like, because it's true. Like, you start thinking, like, how different was it? I mean, it wasn't that much different probably from any normal kid. I mean, I think I had a fairly normal upbringing. You have friends, but I think it was, every summer since I was 5, I would be at my dad's yard. The garbage, the dump there, and in his office. Even at 5 years old, I'd be sitting at his desk. I don't know what I'm doing there, and I would just be soaking up, everything around me, you know, and I just was always around him. So I feel like a lot was inbred. I don't know if I noticed something different. I mean, maybe if I spent every day of my summers with kids and then hang out with my dad, and maybe I'd see something different, but it just was also normal to me, to
Right.
be honest with you. And, I know there's a lot of, allegations and rumors, but honestly, I just always looked at my dad as dad,
Yeah.
and definitely as I get older, I look back and like, oh, okay, weird, some funny coincidences, but no, I got to tell you, it was all fairly okay.
And I have to say, I noticed it, I watched it a second time when I knew you were coming over. I was like, let me watch this documentary again just in case I pick up on stuff. And what I picked up, like the first time, it was just like all this new stuff hitting
Yeah.
you, like all this wild stuff that was going on, especially in that, 2-year span. But then, like, when you go back and watch it, you're like, man, Jimmy was he was a good dad, man. Like watching him, the home videos on Christmas, and the way he talked about you, and the way he like talked about finding out that you were good at hockey and everything. I'm like, this was, I think that good people a lot of times come from good parenting, right? Like a good attentive parenting, and parents that want to be there. And like, we could goof around all day, and we will.
Good.
But I mean, it seemed like your dad was a super attentive parent who was very into you and your sister.
Oh, yeah. Listen, never missed a game.
Yeah.
Never missed. I mean, my dad was busy. I mean, he ran a very large company. I mean, never missed a game. Never missed a graduation. Never. I mean, people could say what they want, but as far as a father goes, they don't get better. I mean, he's always put me in a position to succeed, and I think that goes back to being a fortunate person, but in a different way. He never just handed me a checkbook and said, here you go, get out of my way. He would involve me. He'd put me in a position that I never earned or deserved, but it's sink or swim.
Yes.
And you'd learn, and he always put me in a position to be successful. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Same thing with my sister, and same thing with my mother. I mean, I had parents growing up that, as I get older and I see how things could be for other kids, I deal a lot with kids now. I'm so blessed. I mean, to have the parents I had, it's just, I'm very, very lucky.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's not like you got the hockey team and then he walked away and
Yeah.
was like, go deal with this. Like, they talk about the whole time about the Jimmy nod from the
Yes.
top and calling the players, like,
Yes.
and being fully
Yes.
involved in this thing.
Mhm.
Like, clearly, it felt like, how sometimes, like, your dad gets you a train set
Yes.
and then he builds the train set with you?
Uh-huh.
It felt like your dad got you a hockey team.
Mhm.
And then it became your father-son project.
Well, listen, here's the thing. I know I was a lot of the motivation for him to start this team,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm telling you, had I said, no, I don't want to be involved, he probably would have done it anyway, because once it's in his head, it's in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you stories about him doing things just because it bothered him. I mean, he took on projects just because. He's very hands-on. He's a George Steinbrenner type. He's not going to say, here's the team. Everything went through him.
Mhm.
Everything. I mean, I looked at it this way. I was like the starting pitcher, Roger Clemens,
Mhm.
and he was Mariano Rivera. He was the closer.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, everything had to trickle through to him. And
But luckily, you shared a vision. You're sitting there
Yes.
going like, I want WWE on the ice, and he wanted it too.
oh yeah,
So it worked out.
yes. No, we both were for the heels. That's for sure.
How did he get that Tony Soprano autograph photo?
You know, that's a very good question. I don't know if I ever found that out, but it's a great picture.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, Sopranos is like greatest TV
Yeah.
show of all time. So when you sat there at that press conference and you realized the thing was real and you're 17 and was there any sort of like, oh man, people are going to find out I'm full of shit. People are going to know I'm not ready for this. Everybody's going to hate me. Or were you ready to grab it and go?
Well, you know, if you look at, there's a part of the doc where they show when I first walk up to talk and I sound like I got marbles in my mouth. What people don't know is I had just had another major knee surgery. I was on so much medication and Percocet. I have no idea how they allowed me to even go up. So it was an April Fool's press conference to begin with. And I walk up there. I was in so much pain with my knee. I was medicated up the yin yang. And I was talking like, and people must have been like, this is insane. And it was.
It was insane. Yeah, that they were right when they said that, but they have no idea why.
Yes, yes.
So, how do you, when you're growing up, right, before you get the hockey team and everything, how do you end up with Triple H, China, The Rock, and the badass Billy Gunn? And by the way, and I saw, they said Triple H, because again, I watched it twice.
Yes.
Triple H, China, The Rock, badass Billy Gunn. And then I'm scanning. I saw the Honky Tonk Man there too. I saw the Honky Tonk Man.
So the first part of your question is my dad was very friendly with Captain Lou Albano, Lord rest him. Captain Lou lived close to us, and I remember my dad, you know, typical my dad, wanted to do something special for my birthday. Just so happened the day of my birthday party, there was a house show in New Haven. So he talked to Captain Lou, and, you know, they came up with a deal. But you know what? It wasn't Triple H, The Rock, China, and Badass. It was Hunter Hearst Helmsley,
right?
Rocky Maivia, Rockabilly, and the Honky Tonk Man, and China.
So that's why the Honky Tonk Man was there, because he was Rockabilly at the time. Oh, wow.
So this was literally before they all blew. Like
it wasn't DX.
No, wasn't
that's
DX.
So funny.
It was Rockabilly, Honky Tonk Man, China, Hunter Hearst, and Rocky Maivia. That's who it was.
That is so funny. And did you know they were coming, or did you just get your mind blown when they showed up?
It was with something that big, my dad can't make it a surprise. So the day before, he kind of was like, hey, listen, you know, for your birthday, we're doing, you know, it was just a pool party. And he's like, listen, you know, we're going to have something special. And I was like, and he told me, and I was just like, I mean, you go numb. I mean, the type of fan that I was, I went numb. But again, it didn't hit you until they walk out, you know. Triple H had his little fanny pack and stuff. And I was just like, this isn't, and my friends, I mean, we were all having fun at the party. Everyone's jumping, doing cannonballs in the pool. And it's like the minute they opened the gate and they walk in, it was like, it was like quiet. And everyone's looking at each other like, what? I mean, we were just watching them on Monday Night Raw like 3 days before. It was insane.
So they were just there for the whole time, just hanging?
They were there so they came, you know, like I said, they had the New Haven show, which is 40 minutes from us. So they were there for about 2 hours. And they hung out with us. They signed autographs. You know, China ate all our food. I mean, it was crazy. They just hung out. I tell you, Triple H was the funniest guy, and Rocky Maivia was very quiet. I mean, you look at him now; he's the biggest superstar in the world, but he was like very, you know, almost shy. And Triple H was busting his stones about it, like, "Hey, you gonna talk, Rock? You know, what's the problem?" But great guys, all of them, and you know, we got to go to the show after the birthday. You know, me and like 3 of the friends and my sister went, and that was interesting in itself too, because then I really understood how the wrestling business works, and I realized some of them at my birthday party weren't really my friends when I went to the show.
Well, yeah, you had heels at your show. They can't sit there and have a kid cheering for them like they go to birthday parties.
No, that's I said it before. It's the first time my heart ever broke, literally, was because of Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And again, you know, we went backstage when we got to New Haven. I met Mick Foley. I met Terry Runnels. We met a bunch of guys, the Headbangers. We met a bunch of guys, greatest guys. And we go, I'm on top of the world. At this point, I think, like, I'm in with WWF at that time. So I'm like, oh, I'm the guy. So we sat front row. You know, sure enough, Rockabilly comes out, slaps us 5. You know, we're like, yeah, this is crazy. You know, they came, gave us a hug. I think it was after he won the fight, Rockabilly looked down and goes, "That was for you guys," and we were like, "Oh my god," you know what I mean? And then Rocky Maivia comes down. He had a tag match with Savio Vega. I'll never forget that. He came, slapped us 5, bop bop bop. Then Triple H, Hunter Hearst comes out and does a slow walk. He's looking around.
Probably they're playing Beethoven's Fifth.
Yeah. China's behind him. I think he was some sort of champion, probably European or intercon. And they're walking around. He's coming around. I could see it vividly to this day. He's coming around. He sees me, and I'm just like, my man. Put my hand out. I'm like, this is my guy. He gets up like this close to me, and he looks at me. He goes, "You kids already got your autograph. Sit your ass down and shut your mouth." My heart, I was like, and then China's looking at me like, and I was just like, what the hell just happened here? We were just friends.
You ate all my cake.
Yeah, we were just having Fudgy the Whale cake like 2 hours ago, and now you're giving me an attitude. It was insane.
But you know what that was? I mean, because Triple H is such like Triple H lives, breathes, eats, sleeps wrestling. He can't have a little kid in the front row cheering for him.
After the shock wore off, and as years gone by, I was like, that was such an OG move to do. And I have nothing, like, I've always respected the wrestling business, but that lesson, I appreciated it so much more because it's like, he was not going to break and he wasn't going to like even fist bump me. And you know what? The fact he gave it to me, I'll never forget it. And to this day, I could see his face. His nose right in my eyeballs almost. And he's like, sit down and shut your mouth. And my friends were looking at me like, I was like, I don't know what I did. It was amazing.
I mean, but I feel like you had to understand the show business aspects of it. Because even in the documentary, the way you do it, you're like, I knew there was one player that we needed. Gretzky.
That was that Vince McMahon.
That's it.
It's my dream.
Brent Gretzky.
Brent Gretzky. Yeah, exactly.
Who, by the way, and I've told this story before, so I'm sitting there, right, and I'm watching the documentary, and I don't really think anything of it other than this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then my buddy texts me, and he's like, you got to see this thing, Crime and Penalties, on Netflix. I was like, I watched it last night.
Yeah.
He was like, remember the team I worked for in college? And everything just comes flooding back. Yeah. I'm like, oh, my God. Yes. He sends me. I remember, we're probably 20, whatever. We were in college. And he sends me this photo, and he's like, look who's at the hockey game that I'm at right now. And then I'm, the cameraman for. First of all, I'm like, what are you doing, cameraman? You don't know how to be a cameraman. He's like, I don't know, bro. They told me to be the cameraman.
Give it to him.
Yeah. and John Cena's at this game. Yep. I'm like, what is the Doctor of Thugonomics doing at this game? And then I was like, oh, my God, it was the Galantes, and you were a wrestling fan, and it was John Cena, and that's what you worked for the Trashers. He was like, I worked for the Trashers.
I hope that becomes a badge of honor for people. Anyone that was part of that team, I mean, we appreciate it, whether you were a ticket taker or anything else, but it's funny. So that actually, aside from John Cena being there, that was an iconic game for us because we were playing our rivals Adirondack. So what happened was we had some real problems with Adirondack, leading up to that game, and their ownership made some words about us and this and that. And the week prior, I basically called in a goon from the Quebec League to come down
just
to
for
Adirondack
that game specifically.
Yeah, and he was supposed to, like a hot tag, he was supposed to wreak havoc. Another wrestling reference. And it was on the road, and he went out there, and I remember being in college, and we were watching it on our little laptop, and he wasn't able to really we didn't get our money's worth. It just didn't work out. So the agent called me the next day. He's like, no, we're going to bring him back. Sorry, it didn't work out. So Phil Jubileo, who was our director of like public relations, communications, he was our play-by-play guy, goes, hey, listen, we're doing a promotion night next week. WWE night. John Cena's coming. I was like, what? I was like, this is insane. I mean, he was the U.S. champion at the time.
When he had the U.S. spinner belt?
And he was, in a feud with JBL, I believe, at the time. And I think he was going to...
Probably the lead up to the championship, right?
So I was like, you got to be kidding me. John Cena was coming. So we got a jersey made up for him, number 54. I'll never forget. I'm pretty sure.
That's so great because it's his number.
And he came. So I'm like, no. We got to bring this guy for this game. When John Cena's there, the goon that owes us now. Mm-hmm. So we brought him in, and we're like, we got to put on a show on WWE night. You know what I mean? So John Cena came. He had his belt. I mean, you talk about another guy that, is probably just that wrestling business, just one of the most loyal guys. He sat and did autographs for everyone, taking pictures with every girl in the world. And then he came. He dropped the puck. We introduced him. Then he came up in the box with us, and I was sitting next to him, and he was gonna stay for a period or two. Then he had to leave, and so we said in the locker room, like, hey, something has to happen within the first 2 periods. We got John Cena here, so, and that was the game where this guy, all he was supposed to do was wreak a little havoc. He ends up going after the bench. He tried to beat up the opposing team's coach. He tried to pull him over, and I'll never forget. And I have home video, and I will get it.
Yeah.
There's a point where the brawl comes like towards our area on top, where we're at the luxury boxes down. John Cena's like this. He's looking at me, and I'm just like a proud parent. I'm like, hey, we want to put on a show for John Cena, and great guy. I mean, I remember leaving, and he had a rental car, and he signed the jersey and gave it to me. I mean, great guy.
That's so fun. Now that guys like John Cena and Triple H and The Rock, like these people that are megastars now, are all, if they haven't already been made aware of this documentary, they're all going to be. And
I
they're
hope
go,
so.
Oh, I remember.
I hope so, and I hope they see maybe we had a little good luck charm on them, because The Rock and John Cena are movie stars, and Triple H is that guy. So it might have been some good luck we rubbed off.
Yeah, they got the Trashers rub.
Yeah, that's it. Be a trasher. That's it.
So I was Section 102 is obviously legendary, right? What I didn't know, and when I found out later, is that Section 102 was right by the opposing team's locker room.
Right behind the bench and right in front of the locker room. Yes.
Yeah. So what I heard is that, I mean, on a regular basis, there were near fights with the 102 fans and the away team, because the 102 fans were just relentless to that away team.
I mean, just, it's such a cliche thing. It's such a cliche thing for other sport teams to say, like, the fans are, 6-man on the field type of thing. These guys were literally our tag team partner. Another reference. I'm telling you, they were insane. And it was almost to the point where, I mean, so one guy, he took a horn off a fire truck, and he would bring it, and he would, during timeouts when the coach is, drawing up plays, he'd stick it right over, not over where it's technically intruding on their space, and he'd, I've seen coaches just toss their whiteboard. Like, there's not even a point to talk about this at this point. Any way to get the edge, that's what we did. And those guys, and girls, by the way, they were so important to just, you can't talk to Trashers without them. They were just, still are, just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you got the players on the ice, but you got those fans.
Yes.
They're doing what they're doing. And I mean, I feel like your equipment manager might be your MVP, the way he's sitting there, like, just taking pride in the fact that he's like, you're getting 6 towels. They're going to be paper thin. It's going to be 108 degrees in there. Like this is going to be absurd.
Yeah, I mean, T-Bone, again, met him when I was probably 11.
By the way, did you know? So this is what I was thinking too. I'm like, okay, obviously you're close with him.
Yeah.
You met him when you're 11. Like he's a local coach there. Like you probably played with him. You were saying in the thing that he was like checking little kids off the ice and everything.
Burying them.
When he says cocaine's a hell of a drug, are you going, wow, that explains it?
So he called me immediately after the documentary dropped, and he said, I didn't mean it like that. I was like, all right. He was trying to explain what he meant. He's like, no, I didn't.
No, like colloquially, like the referee, I just meant that.
So I'm like, I don't know, Tommy. I just know that's a legendary quote now. But he's like, I don't do cocaine. And I'm like, it's fine, Tommy. It doesn't matter. It's like 16 years ago. But he swears that it was like, I don't know. But no, T-Bone. We used to sit together, me, him, and my dad in my dad's office. We'd be eating McDonald's or something, and what are we gonna do this weekend? What can we do? I remember once we would always, it's like what a battle of the minds we had, and I tell you, me and Tommy went to a supermarket once.
It's like McMahon, Pat Patterson, and Bruce Pritchard you three are that for the UHL.
My dad was Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Like, damn it, leave. So we came up with one day. Me and Tommy went to a supermarket, and you know when they sell those big fish, slimy fish, and allegedly an anonymous person put them in the heating ducts in the visiting locker room. And I don't know, after 2 days of that fish, guys were throwing up in the locker room. We got calls, what the hell's wrong with the vents? And I'm like, what? They got up there, there's fish, and it's just, just any stupid middle schoolish humor prank is what we were, putting clear saran wrap on the toilets, guys pissing on themselves. I don't
know who did it. I don't know.
Allegedly, obviously, but
sure, it's all
allegedly.
This is all for entertainment purposes.
Allegedly, but I'm telling you, it was like, think of your funniest sleepovers with your friends in middle school. That was the trash. Literally, we didn't do this for fame. We didn't do this thinking Netflix streaming service was gonna.
Of course,
we just were trying to make ourselves laugh and our fans at the expense of our opponents. But still, but every opponent, they wanted to come with us because they knew, one, because they were scared, but also because we treated our guys good, and I think they realized, wow, they're not really the shirt and tie type. We're not having board meetings and stuff. We just did things.
Yeah, that's what my buddy who was a camera operator for you guys. First of all, he said he had no idea what he was doing. He said
he fit right in.
Yeah. He said on night one, you guys were still getting the arena fixed when the doors were open and you were trying. He said he was screwing on the power outlets while fans were coming in.
The doors technically opened at 6 o'clock that night. It was October 15th, 04. I'll never forget it. And I walked in, had a suit on for the first game. My mom wanted me to make sure I had a suit on. And literally, I walk in and there's sparks flying. Guys are welding the stand. The stands were not ready. And welding by the skin of our teeth, literally to 7:29. Game time was 7:30. People were working on something. Literally to the minute, we got it done.
But he also said, and I think that this is why people wanted to come over, is that he's like, this was the vibe. He was like, they treated everybody like gold.
Yeah.
We got great dinners afterwards. He said that you guys hired his entire lacrosse team to be the arena staff. To be the event
staff.
That
makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't personally remember that, but that makes total sense because we would give kids opportunities to do things.
That's what he said.
Kids.
He said that you guys treated everybody awesome. Everybody had the time of their lives.
Yeah.
Everybody was a little afraid to screw up. So everybody did a good job. It was like, you don't want to fuck up.
Balance. It was a good balance.
Yes.
It was a very good balance of just everything. But everyone, whether they were an usher or not, everyone was just felt part of this team, this family, and that was important to us, for everyone to feel that way, and that's how you breed success.
When did the UHL commissioner come around on you guys? Was it when you started making money? Because it was very clear. I felt watching, in the beginning, he wanted to make sure that he was the one in charge.
Yes.
But with you guys, that's not going to work. You guys are in charge. But it felt like he said that he saw it and he got it. It felt to me like once you guys started selling out the building every week and making money, that's when he understood what was going on.
Richard Brissell is a great guy. We had such I don't know if it was love-hate for us, but I loved him. He was a funny, I was Stone Cold. He was Vince McMahon. That's what it was. Another one. And I'm telling you, every single Monday on my way home, so I would come home every weekend for the games. All the games were played on the weekends, home or away. And every Monday morning, I'd get up and I'd drive to Manhattanville College every Monday. And sure enough, 9 o'clock almost on the dot every Monday, he'd call me, screaming at me, yelling at me. What the hell are you guys doing? You're ruining the league. You guys are insane. It was like, I'm going to tell your father. I'm like, well, you don't need to tell him. He's with me. He knows what's going on.
He's the one doing it.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to fine you. This is your last chance. And I'm like, sorry, it won't, never again. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I can't prove that T-Bone did that, but I'll try to figure.
I'm going to tell you this, though. I'm going to make sure he never does that again.
Mr. Brissell, I'm sorry. And he'd be like, all right. But at the end, he'd always be like, all right, AJ, come on, and that's what it was. He could never, he just couldn't stay too mad at us. There was only 2 or 3 incidents where he was really heated, but other than that, he just when we were the highest grossing ticket sales for away games. When we went places, I mean, buildings would sell out because they
Yeah.
hated us so much. I mean, it's that heel mentality. People want to see you lose so bad that they will spend money, and that's a fact. We wherever we went, Elmira, Adirondack, Richmond, Port Huron, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Rockford, wherever we went, the place would sell out. I'm not saying they didn't sell out on their own anyway, but there was a spike when we came through.
So people did because the movie is more about what you guys did for the town and how much Danbury loved you guys.
Yeah.
But the flip side was every other town. Like you were hated elsewhere.
I've gotten, since the documentary has premiered, I've gotten so many messages from people in the towns and cities that we played against.
Mhm.
And they said, we're buying Trasher jerseys. We loved you guys. We hated you, but we wanted our team to be like, it's the people you love to hate, but there's a little bit of love in there. But
Conor McGregor.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very much. I mean, it was just what we tried to craft, and we caught lightning in a bottle, to be honest with you.
Was it you guys were talking about, and I don't know how much you actually dealt with like signing people and making deals and stuff, but you guys talked about avoiding agents.
Yeah.
Like that had to be, first of all, that's the way to go, but second of all, not the easiest thing in the world.
No, well, here's the reality. After my dad kind of says you're the president of the team, and it's kind of funny for about 2 days, you're feeling good about yourselves, all your friends, you're the guy now. But then when that adrenaline wears off, you realize I gotta produce. Now I actually have a job. I don't know anybody. There wasn't Facebook or Instagram or Twitter to reach out. I literally, what they give the fans, you could buy. I literally had like the UHL like manual, which gives the bios of each team. I was calling stadiums concession stands to try to learn, hey, who runs it? And I would disguise myself like hey, I'm coming down to the game this week. Who's running things down there? And they'd be like, oh, it's Joe or whatever.
You
like,
don't even have Twitter. It's not like you can DM people.
There's no YouTube. I mean, I think the only thing there was, and it was useless anyway, was like MySpace. I mean, that's what we're talking about. So I would literally go in the league manual, call the arena, disguise myself as like a fan, try to get info like, hey, who runs the team here? Then you start putting 2 and 2 together, who's who, what's what, and you hope to get some phone numbers, and that's it. That's it. Literally, like it was a game. It was like a big game.
Yeah, but you loved it.
Yes, I did love it, except when my dad was upset. But other than that, I loved it. When we screwed up, it wasn't fun. But I did overall. I loved it, and I had my friends on the case. I mean, we would go on. Back then, the message boards. They had like a UHL message board.
Yeah.
So I had I recruited like 12 of my buddies, and we would just spam these message boards talking about. They hated, and we were all Trasher guys, obviously. They had no idea who we were. I'm sure some put 2 and 2 together, but I mean, we were spamming these messages. People were just losing their minds. It was crazy.
What would your dad get upset about?
If we lost, I mean, for him, if we weren't going 82-0, we sucked.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it took him to the second year to realize that, you're going to lose a game. I mean, there's no undefeated in hockey. You know what I mean? So, but that first year was tough. If we lost, it was... And I go home with them. You know what I mean? These guys, they may get yelled at us, but they go home. I'm in the car with them. He's ripping, and we go home. And
so he expected results from you. This wasn't a gift.
Oh, no. I tell people, there was the second year going into the trade deadline. I really, in my heart, felt I was about to get fired. Seriously.
Wow.
I really, not even trying to sound funny or for the story, there was a time where I was like, my dad's going to fire me because we were going through a little bit of a slump. And I don't know. But he would have. I'm telling you, he would pull it. I mean, he wouldn't embarrass me, but he'd figure a way to demote me without making me feel bad, or maybe in a public way.
Mhm.
But 100%, if we didn't produce, he would have gave the responsibilities to someone else. 100%.
Wow. So, I mean, and that's that Steinbrenner thing, right? He wanted to be the Steinbrenner of the UHL, I guess.
It is. There's a lot of fun to the story. There's a lot of, what gets the attention is the insanity of everything. But I'm telling you, at the end of the day, unless you're winning, that stuff won't work. After a while, like if you're losing every game and doing all this stuff, you're just a clown show now. But we wanted to, we wanted to win, and that, and the end of the day, that was the end justifies the means. We needed to win, and that was a very serious thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
As fun as all of it is, like I also found myself thinking, like, I can't imagine how difficult it must be when you're that close with your dad, as close as you were and still are, I'm assuming, with your dad, for your dad to have to go away.
Yeah.
Like for your dad to go to jail. What was more difficult for you? Was it when you're a kid, when you're in 8th grade and your dad goes away for a year and you like have to kind of put all that together, and I mean, you're a kid, you're not ready for that, or was it this high that you were on of running this team? Not only does it get smashed and you lose the team, but now your dad's going away. He's going away for a long time. Like he was away for years.
Yeah, it was like double jeopardy, really. I mean, it was like obviously the main thing to me was my father. And I was upset about the situation, obviously, and not just him. Other people that went away in that case that I was close to too. So it rocked our world, and then to lose the team. I mean, that was obviously my dad was the bigger part, but losing the team was like, it was gut wrenching. It was a very, very, very tough time for sure.
Yeah, I would have to believe it. It couldn't have helped you that the kid on The Sopranos' name was AJ. I mean, you don't need that.
I would rather be compared to Meadow Soprano.
He really is awful. I mean, God bless him. It's hilarious.
What makes me mad is I didn't watch the show when it was like, I ended up getting like a box DVD set years after the show was off. That's when I watched it. I didn't watch it when it was going on. I didn't live under a rock. I knew the show. But when I watched, like, what pissed me off was he was Anthony Jr. in the first season. Then they made him AJ. And I was like, oh, God. Like every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Oh, yeah, you're like the Tony Soprano's son's AJ. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful.
Wait, you're like, AJ, the whole charm of that character is he's a colossal disappointment on every level. I mean, okay, yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have good fortune in your life. Spoiled. AJ's spoiled.
Yes,
AJ Soprano is spoiled.
That's a perfect tie-in. I mean, that's spoiled. And, oh, man, like I said, it was, I've heard that. I can't even tell you how many times. It's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, I couldn't possibly imagine. But, hey, man. The documentary comes out. Obviously, it blows up. People are getting in touch with you. I saw you on McAfee's show. Yeah. Obviously, that's what I did. I was like, okay, if he's out there doing interviews, I started digging around. Yeah. When I hit up the account, I knew it was you that was running the account. Yeah. I was like, this has to be what it is. But I knew it was at a different level when I saw Drake on album release weekend. This is Drake when he couldn't be more famous. Drake when there couldn't be more people talking about him. And I just look at his Instagram, and Champagne Papi is just throwing on that Trashers jersey. And I was like, oh, my God. Honestly, in my mind, I was like, man, I don't know how AJ would be prepared for this, but he might have just made you a millionaire when he put that jersey on.
It's still baffling to me. I mean, the documentary came out on Tuesday, August 31st, and the next day, I'm sitting there, and one thing leads to another. We end up in a direct message conversation.
You and Drake?
Yes. And I was just, at first I'm like, this has got to be someone handling his. So there's no way he's sitting there finishing an album, DM, in a conversation with me. There's
like
no way.
He just finished this album.
Yeah,
he's putting it together. He's getting ready for his release, and he's so obsessed with this doc. He's DMing you.
So I'm like, we're in a conversation, and one thing leads to another, and we're on like a video chat, and his face just pops up, and I'm just like,
you got FaceTime by Drizzy?
I got FaceTime by Drizzy.
And, my God!
And it was the weirdest, and that's saying something. I've been involved with all the weird things, but this is top 10 in my life. Weirdest. Maybe top 3, but I mean, and I got to tell you, the most humble guy. I mean, just the nice, and he said to me, he's like, I saw the doc, loved it. I need a jersey. I need a jersey now. I didn't have jerseys laying around, so I'm just like, oh God, this is like a one.
Because also people forget, it hasn't been a hockey
There's
team
not
in
a team. It's
15 years.
It's not a team. So it's like I don't have.
And even when it was a team, it was a UHL team in Danbury.
I know. So it's like I don't have them stockpiled ready for this moment. So I'm like, oh man, this is a once in a billion. I was like, what am I gonna do? So I remembered that in my office at my gym, I'm like, I had that jersey framed. I went right to the gym. I broke the frame. I'm not very handy, so I didn't have time to figure 2 minutes how to like unscrew things. So I just
smashed it.
Just hardcore Holly smashed it. And we were able to come up with a situation where I had someone drive up to Buffalo, and he sent somebody from where he is in Canada, and I thought he'd maybe have it, take a picture, send to me, maybe autograph it for me. So I don't know. He wanted it. I didn't ask questions. I'm like, I gotta figure a way to get it to him. He got it. Saturday morning, when his album released, I believe it was September 4th, my phone went off it was lighting up like a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing is, oh my God, something happened to like a family member, something happened, kid at the gym or something. I'm like, oh my God. I look, I literally can't do anything with my phone. Like, when it's like buffering. It's like I literally can't. There's so many things coming in. I can't navigate the phone. I'm like, what am I supposed? I'm like, I'm so freaked out. And then I'm getting pictures of him with the jersey, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, this is insane. I was like,
dude, I just realized Galante is on the back of this.
Yes.
That's why it's your jersey that was framed in your gym. That's why your name's on the back of it.
So that jersey, believe it or not, when we decided on, our colors, our logo, the whole 9 yards, the company that made the jersey sent the prototype. That was the prototype. And it had my number on it. First of all, they made it 17 because that was when I started taking the team over at 17. Right. Plus, it was actually my hockey number when I played. So, they just want us to look at it. And, I always had that jersey and I framed it and, but he's like, no, I don't, I want your name on it, this and that. And I'm just like, this is insane. I was just like, why are you doing it? I mean, it's like, thank you. Like, why, I don't understand. And then, he posted it and it's like, now it's taken on a life of its own. It's insane. It's insane.
That is so, I've heard that happened. Obviously nothing like that's ever happened. I've never, been in a situation where the phone just stops working because it's being inundated.
Like you're trying to tap the icon where you could get text, and I can't. It's like
there's too many coming in.
It was insane, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I'm thinking like someone passed away. I'm thinking something happened. 2 a.m. I mean, I'm like 80 years old. I'm trying to sleep, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I'm seeing him, and I'm like, then people were like, oh, you paid him to wear this, and I'm like, why would I pay? I can't. Like, no, I'm not. I didn't pay him to wear. So then people were like, "Oh, this is photoshopped." I'm like, dude, it's his Instagram. Why would he Photoshop? Danbury Trashers jersey.
Even if it was photoshopped, if he photoshopped it to look like that, it would still be the same thing.
Yeah. So I have stock. I have like loaded up on my phone my empty frame where my jersey was broken into. So I'm like, I took it. That's the jersey. You know what I mean?
That's your jersey.
But no, I mean, I just. It's so humble. Honestly, it's funny, but it's so humbling that a guy, anyone, it doesn't even have to be a celebrity, anyone that enjoys this, I just take such pride in it because we me and my father just tried to build something special, and now that's reaching a whole nother mass, really, and it's a very humbling thing for us.
I mean, I like the iconic moment where they show the blood getting swept off the ice literally after puck drop 1. The puck dropped at game 1. Take the gloves off. You got it, boss.
Drop him.
And then it's the broom comes out.
Vince McMahon, drop your gloves. I mean,
damn it, drop those gloves.
Damn it, do it. It's me, Austin. It's like, no, but that's what it was.
Damn it, leave.
Damn it, leave. I mean, no, that's what it was. I mean, it was. That's the one inaccuracy. There was a phone involved, but it was a Nextel back with the chirp. It was like, boop, boop, bleep, bleep.
Oh.
So it was like a walkie-talkie. So it wasn't like,
But you still pick up your Nextel.
Yes, of course. There was anonymous Nextels planted in certain areas of the bench, but no, it was the chirp chirp. So yes.
But I mean, I get why they did that because like Nextel was the shit in that era.
That was it.
But like if you didn't grow up when we grew up, it's like what's a Nextel? What's a chirp?
I try to explain to kids in the gym like the Nextel was was it.
So now you're managing the boxing gym in Danbury. It's your gym, and are you still promoting fights and fighters?
Yeah, I mean I got like the Trashers. I got into the boxing industry total fluke. I mean, it's a long story, but I got into next thing I know, I'm managing a fighter, and it's just like, what? I don't know anything about. I wasn't even a boxing fan growing up. I don't know. I feel like all the stars aligned. I had to get back involved with something, sport wise, and it's been over 10 years now. I've been involved with professional boxing, amateur boxing. Our gym. We do a lot with the kids, the nonprofit, which is important to me. It's probably my favorite thing I do is with the kids, and yeah, it's like I'm really feeling. I've always been the kid. I was always around my dad. I was a 17-year-old. I was always the kid. Now I'm 35, and these young kids are coming up to me like I'm the elder statesman. They want to hear stories. And
of course,
there's kids in my gym that weren't even born when the Trashers were there. So
That's
they're
wild.
hearing about it now, and they're looking at me like, what? And because people change as they get older, and they're looking at me and they watch it and they're like, what the?
Well, it's like you're literally a kid.
Yeah,
like you're
I know.
like I mean, people change.
I told someone it's true. I was telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, I can't believe people are so into this story. And she said, AJ, this is not normal. She goes, we normalized all this growing up, but this is not a normal story. And I see 17-year-olds come into my gym, and I wouldn't even let them plunge the toilet. And I'm just like, I can't believe that my dad had enough faith to put me in that position. It means a lot to me, and I'm always feel indebted for that.
I mean, it has to be one of those positions where, at this point, you feel ready for whatever the world throws at you. You know what I mean? Like once you've been there, I can't imagine that many spots that would feel overwhelming for any length of time.
It's Sam. To tell you the truth, it's such a true thing. Starting with the Trashers, I've never really been prepped for anything that I end up doing.
Right.
You want to be a lawyer, you go to law school for 1,000 years. You know what I mean? You want to be a dentist. I'm eating dinner. You're the president of the Trashers, or you're president of this team. All right. I get into I make a phone call. Within 2 days in 2011, I'm in pro boxing somehow. Drake's wearing a jersey. Now I'm like dealing with international shipping. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what, if anyone's watching, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm winging it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a strategy that works. I mean, I'm just winging it. I wake up. I try to do the best I can. I try to, elevate the people around me, all the people that have been there, from the start. I haven't left Danbury. I've had opportunities to maybe go, but it's where I'm from. I want to build where I'm from. And that was the whole point of the Trashers, to give an identity to the city. We're trying to transfer that over to what we're doing with the boxing and everything. So hopefully it'll shake itself out.
Have you thought about what you want to do with it now? I mean, obviously there's this whole lane for merchandise. And this is also one of those things, how Netflix goes, this is going to be quick, and in, a couple of months there's going to be something else. Are you going to try to do a book? Are you going to sell merch? Are you going what's the step, or are you just going to ride the wave?
100% ride the wave.
That's it.
I really, there's a time to plan, and then there's a time to do. I understand we got to strike when the iron's hot, but you know what? Whatever happens, happens. I mean, we definitely going to do a lot of merchandise stuff. I'll be honest, I have toyed with the idea of possibly a podcast, possibly with. I mean, there's real untold stories that never. Netflix didn't have time to put into the set. And the producers wanted to make the episode longer. They're like, we have to cut out. We're the longest out of the 5 episodes. We're the longest. And they begged Netflix to let them keep it that long, because they wanted around an hour and 9 minutes. And we're like an hour and 20.
Yeah.
So, they're like, we had to cut a half hour worth of stuff we didn't want to cut. It's so good, but we couldn't do it. So, look, we're going to ride the wave. I mean, people seem to enjoy it. I've been on social media answering every single person. I just feel I owe it to them. I mean, which is probably a stupid thing I started. But I don't know.
It was nice at the beginning.
Yeah, no,
but
I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do that. But anyone who reaches out, I feel like I owe them, even if it's an LOL, I have to recognize them, because in the end, we're nothing without the people that, take this in and want this story told. So I've always been that way. I feel like I have to respond, but if this keeps going the way it's going, I don't know if I could do it. Maybe it'll just be a copy paste, same response to everyone, but
Imagine hiring a social media manager.
Wow.
What about that?
It's a good idea. You're a smart guy.
I actually have an idea for your merch that I'm going to tell you off. That's gonna because like you can't handle it all.
No.
You got to get a third party, but I think I know how we can get some jerseys out there
I'm
people's
excited.
hands. It'll be
100%.
good. You know, so like I said, I don't know that much about sports. I know about the stories. I love the stories. That's why I love all these documentaries. Even if there was no wrestling hook on it, like I said, I watched the Malice at the Palace. I love all of them. I didn't know. I thought when a hockey player, and maybe they usually do, get sent to the penalty box, they sit in the penalty box, they do their time, they get up when they're told to get up. That's what I thought. What I heard was the person that was put in charge of locking your penalty box might again have been a younger person, might have been a college student, might have been imbibing in THC-related products, and forgot on multiple occasions to lock. There's actually a physical lock. I never knew this.
Yes.
That there's a lock on the penalty box. That there were multiple instances where this individual forgot to lock the penalty box, and each time that penalty box wasn't locked, that door got kicked open, and he was right back on the ice.
I heard rumors of that. There's definitely been some allegations of foul play with, coincidentally, the home team's penalty box, little lock mechanism. But you know what? Hey, yeah, I've heard some things, but no, I mean,
yeah, that's what I heard from my people in the know.
No, and as a matter of fact, getting back to the John Cena story, the WWE night. When that player, Chad Wagner, attacked the coach, it was after he was put in the box. And he was able to get out. And no one saw it coming. And next thing you know it, he's skating 100 miles an hour after the bench. Even I was like, oh, whoa. And he grabbed the coach, tried to yank him over. Thankfully, his team kept, it was like a tug of war. Our guys pulling him by the arms, the Adirondacks holding him by the legs, but yes. So
I'll tell you what else I learned. Right, I Sopranos is my favorite television show of all time. It's the best there's ever been. I didn't know a no-show job was a thing in real life. I'd never heard the term no-show job, and then I watched this documentary, and they're like, "Yeah, these hockey players are also doing some no-show jobs." I was like, "It's a real thing."
Allegedly,
it's what the document. Who knows? These are movies, right?
No, I mean it's fascinating subject. I mean, allegedly, there were some players that worked at the dump at times. I think. I mean, allegedly,
but lots of people have day jobs.
Of course,
lots of people. I mean, look,
there's a lot of people that are working right now that aren't doing anything. That's a no-show job.
That's a no-show job.
So I mean, hey,
and you know what? Job. If I'm playing hockey, once or twice a week. And the owner of the team's like, I got this other business. You want to get a second job?
I mean, why be bored?
It's Danbury. What's to do in Danbury?
You're bored. Go pick up some trash. It's fun.
It's a blast. That's what people forget.
It's a hell of a time.
It's
especially
a riot.
In the summer.
Yeah.
And when it's hot, it smells great.
And here's what people forget. A lot of times, it's easier to just deal with cash in a bag. Like, why does everything need to be a check and a direct deposit? Just like
I never understood the stigma of cash is bad. I mean,
I love getting paid in cash.
I paid cash at the mobile the other day. They looked at me like a criminal. I was like, here's my energy drink. Here's $5. They're like, cash? I mean, young girl looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's cash. It's, cash is cool.
Cash is great. I don't want to have to scan my phone or swipe a card every time I buy anything.
Insert the card is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, come on. Well, look, man, it was great, and I'm really happy at the amount of people. Like, I've talked about this a lot, and I've turned a lot of people onto it, and I have not met a single person that hasn't watched this story and gone like, yeah, this is awesome.
Well, again, I mean, all we did was tell our stories. I mean, the producers deserve all the credit, obviously, but we just sat there and talked. I mean, we didn't embellish anything. We just told it how it was. I mean, we told stories, and it's just honestly, it's so humbling when you hear people just like it. There's so many layers to it. There's funny, there's there's a lot of funny stuff, there's serious stuff, but it seems to hit on all. I mean, it it flowed very good as a documentary because documentaries could get boring too. I mean, I
Mhm.
thought it flowed good. Wasn't too short, wasn't too long, and the Way brothers did a hell of a job, honestly.
You know who else? Who else I heard had a very supportive dad? Brent Gretzky.
That's
I
true.
heard his dad was very supportive and wanted to support Brent to make sure Brent got the same support that old Wayneski got.
Brent Gretzky's father, Wayne's father too, came down from God, I want to say it was Ontario for the first game of the Trashers. He came and supported his son.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I had a soft spot for Brent because, for better or worse, I've always been in the shadow, and
Mm.
I couldn't imagine this guy. I mean, if I was Michael Jordan's brother, I'm not going to play basketball.
Mhm.
That's probably a good bet. This guy got drafted by the NHL.
Hey, you're not getting in the trash business for a reason.
No. I don't think I'm technically allowed to at this point anyway. I think that was part of a plea. I don't know if we're allowed, but I.
But either way, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't now do it because I'm going to be compared.
Right.
It's never going to be as great. But the point is, I had a lot of respect for Brent because it's like, hey, listen, he knew
Yes.
why teams wanted him, and that was definitely a huge part of why we brought him in. But at that level of hockey, he was good,
Mhm.
and it's a shame that he was really good, and he was a huge contributor for us. I had a lot of respect for him because it could have been easy for him to just turtle away from the whole thing, but he loved the game and he wanted to do it, and he knew, hey, I'm not my brother, but I'm gonna carve my own niche.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
What's Dad up to now? What's Jimmy up to?
My dad will be 69 in January.
God bless.
He wakes up at 4 a.m. every morning. He gets on an oil truck and he heats people's homes
Really?
and places with diesel fuel. Him and his partner, the other Jimmy D. He is on an oil truck every single day, Monday through Friday. Winters, Saturdays too. I mean,
Wow.
he will not. He's not going to stop.
He loves working.
They broke the mold. I mean, he loves to work. I mean, he needs it, and that keeps him going.
Mhm.
But he needs to be in there. He can't just sit and you do this, you do that. He needs to be in there. And
Yeah.
I'll never. I told him straight up, I'll never be you. I'm not looking to pull a oil truck hose at 69 years old. It's not going to happen. He's just a different animal.
Yeah, that's he sounds like one of those guys that would go like, AJ, I'm never going to ask anything of you that I wouldn't do myself.
Oh.
And you're like, yeah, it's a little unfair because you're a monster. You're an animal. You're a machine.
He's a machine is probably, I mean, I don't know what batteries he's on, but I wish I had him because he could work circles around me at his age. For
Do you
sure.
guys still have the same sense of humor deep down? Like, do you still like the I guess they call it sophomoric, all the stuff that I've been laughing at this entire time.
Oh.
Like, is it still there?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, my dad likes to sit back, observe. He doesn't say much.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as people leave, he'll say, he'll critique.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best.
He's
isn't it?
he's a
Isn't
very
that the
good,
best?
he's good at critiquing, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I love a person who I can go to a social gathering with them and have a real good drive home
Yeah.
conversation.
Oh, he is the ultimate drive home
Oh,
conversation.
love
guy.
a drive home conversation.
He's a drive to Pencil, a 2-3 hour drive. I mean, he's.
Like,
Tell you what, he seems to always be correct. He's not shooting 100%, but he's very close.
right.
And sometimes I'm like, Dad, no. And
He's right.
time shows, I'm like, he did it again.
Nailed
It's
it.
unreal.
Nailed it. Yeah, that's dangerous. Somebody who's that good of a judge of
Yes.
character, you're like, okay,
Yes.
he's on to.
Yes.
And especially when they're quiet.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite personality traits. When somebody, like, because I pick up on observant
Yeah.
people quickly.
Yeah.
And there's two things I like. I like people who are quiet, but really observant of everything.
Yeah.
And my favorite is people who pretend to be stupid
Oh.
so that they can get people to give that false sense of confidence. Like people who just pretend to be the village idiot and are just so aware, so much more aware of everything than the people around them.
I'm trying to slowly master that one. And I tell people, just because I look stupid, that's just so you don't ask me to do something for you. But
Yeah.
my dad is he'll watch the game. You think he's oblivious. He's
Mhm.
watching the game. As soon as it's over, he can tell you anything anyone said,
Mhm.
what he thinks about it, and whether you like it or not, he's going to tell you what he thinks. And like I said, he's got a good shooting percentage.
Is he a guy who lets go of stuff, or even now does he hold a grudge?
You know, that's a very good. I don't know. I think he's right in the middle there.
Yeah.
I think he's in the middle there. He doesn't forget. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
He'll tell you something that pissed him off in 1997. You know what I mean? We'll be driving and we'll pass a restaurant and it's like, I remember the bread was stale at that place in 1997. Like he'll remember things like that.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff you think he'll be upset with that he'll think is hilarious and it's not. He doesn't care.
Right.
Then it'll be the littlest thing. Hey Dad, the big, hey Dad, I failed my exam. I think I'm gonna get a crack in the head, and he's like, whatever. Then I come home and it's like, I chipped the table and he loses.
World
so
War III.
you don't know where he knows when to hold him, when to fold him. He knows when to. You never know what's coming. It's like a change up.
Yeah. What about you? You seem like you're at a place in your life where you're just kind of full of gratitude, sort of.
It's just so amazing. I'm just a regular guy, and it's like I couldn't be more. You're on Netflix now. People think like you. I couldn't be more boring. I mean, honestly, like my day to day is just literally the same thing, and
except every now and then Drake FaceTimes you.
I mean, other than Drizzy every once in a while, but no, I mean honestly, it's just such a. It is. It's really humbling because it's like I've been very fortunate, and there's I've gone through stuff too, like everyone. We all have a story. It's just I just want to take. There's some people who would be in this position and take advantage of it.
Yes.
Take advantage of people. I don't want to do. I don't need to do that. I mean. I'm happy the way I was raised. I always saw things, from a very early age, and not a lot of stuff really jades me. And you just got to be humble because, like I said, I mean, it could all be gone tomorrow. I saw my dad build a company that was appraised at over $100 million, and you lose it tomorrow. It's gone. So
right.
I took from that, and I'm like, you know what? You just take it. If I could go home, flop on the bed, and laugh about a few things that happened during the day, that's the best day. That's the best thing in the world.
Yeah. You still watching wrestling?
Oh, of course.
Who are your people right now?
Oh, God.
Head of the table, Roman Reigns?
Roman Reigns I didn't like at first for whatever the reason, but he's grown on me. Okay. I like Roman Reigns. I like, I like them all. I mean, I like
wrestling.
I just love wrestling. I feel like I was made for it. And I feel like one day the stars are going to align and I need to make a heel entrance.
I mean, I feel like
I can be Jim Cornette 2022. I really believe that. I'll carry a tennis racket and everything.
I don't know if he'd like that New York accent on you, though. I don't know if Jim Cornette would like that. Jim Cornette doesn't like an East Coast accent.
Jim Cornette is a hero of mine, and he'll like it. I listen to his podcast, and I love Jim Cornette. And, the Dairy Queen video, I love everything about it. I've watched that video. That video went viral because of me. I refreshed and watched that video thousands of times.
Yeah, I have two goals in mind now. Number one, the merch stuff.
Yes.
And number two, I'm going to start poking around over in WWE and be like, look, just imagine him coming in here. And even if it's for one night, just going like, hey, I ran a hockey team at 17. You don't think I can run things around here? Like, there's so much to do. The documentary's huge on Netflix. Let's get AJ Galante on Raw.
I will take any bump needed.
Yes.
I will take a chair shot. I don't know if that's frowned upon these days, but I will.
Take it on the back? Just as long as you don't take it in the head, that's fine.
Whatever is needed, I will do. You get asked, you hear that question, if you had a dinner with 3 people in history, like who would you choose?
Love it.
I promise you, the other 2 may change depending on my day, but Vince McMahon is number 1. And I admire that man. I study, and he, I got to tell you, he's on a much different stratosphere, but very my dad like. And I can see, I don't know him, but I know him.
You get the personality.
I get the personality. And what I would do for 10 minutes to pick his brain and try to cut a promo on him to try out, I don't care. That was my guy.
As soon as that puck drops, you take those gloves off.
Drop your gloves, damn it. You're fired.
I love it. Well, we got a lot of stuff to put out there in the universe. AJ, I'm so glad you came by.
No, it's an honor.
This is so much fun. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You're the best. Thank you, guys.